As the channel's resident layer queen. Not great.
Welcome to Cat and Raven Designs. I'm Cat, they, them.
And I'm Raven, she, her. And welcome to a new month. Welcome to August. Can you believe it's August already? Oh my gosh. We're here for a new collection. This is My Circus. This is going to be coming out at the end of August, like usual, last Friday of the month. So that'll be Friday, August 28th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on our website, catandravendesigns.com. If you need a reminder, sign up for our email list. It's down in the description. And we are ready to get started with the first design for this collection. And this one is me. And of course, boom, here is my design. I am calling this one Fireball Show. A little bit of inspiration that I'll talk about later on once we get started on the actual soap making, because we're going to have a little bit of downtime with these layers. You know, I love a good layered soap if you've been around here before. I wanted to take color-wise a little bit of inspiration from jesters and clowns. If you're an amazing Digital Circus fan, you get the reference. Let's talk about those colors and fragrance that we're going to be pulling this off with. We're going pretty straightforward like usual here. My first color I'm going to be doing is blue, and this is just ultramarine blue, nothing special. And then my next color is red, and I am using the traditional Trial by Fire. A fantastic red because it doesn't bleed on everything. Love that. I did notice in my test batch that the fragrance does discolor, and it did also accelerate.
Oh yeah, it did.
So I have drastically reduced the fragrance oil being used in these, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if we still have a little bit of discoloration with this.
You know, as far as something that discolors though, that's actually really pretty.
Yeah, you know, and I think it works for sort of that circusy vibe, so I'm okay with it. And the fragrance that we're working with is from Candle Science. It's called Caramel Apple, and your fragrance notes are top notes of apple, middle notes of caramel, and apple cider, and a base of caramelized sugar, spice, and sugar. 2 notes of sugar. And in between each of the layers, I'm going to be putting a little bit of Super Sparkles from Mad Micas just to jazz it up a little bit. And on top, I'm going to add just a little bit of coarse yellow from the Good Glitter. This is, of course, biodegradable glitter.
If you are not using biodegradable glitter, you are lame. You are super lame.
And now, it is time for the usual safety mode so we can make some soap. So here we go. Ta-da! And we're ready to go. So we're starting as usual with our mix of our plant-based oils. My fragrance and my kaolin clay are already in here. And I've given this a good blend to make sure that the ultramarine blue mixes up really well. And we're going to add our lye water so that it can do a little thing called, say it with us, friends, saponification. And isn't this little container just the absolute cutest? It's like a tiny version of some of our bigger containers. It brings me great joy. But I'm going to be adding in the lye here. I have already calculated out what I need for each individual layer, so these will be nice and even. But I do need to move relatively quickly because this accelerated like crazy in the test batch. I am concerned that even though I drastically lowered it, we'll do it again. Okay. So one of the inspirations, especially with the name of this soap, I don't know how many of you will even remember it, was this show on HBO called Carnival. And they have an episode where they talk about a fireball show. And that's where they do a show, but they're like stealing everybody's money. Oh, it is definitely thickening already. Oh my God. And that is feeling with this fragrance particularly apt as it is trying to run away from me here. I'm gonna have to give this a good smack to make this a nice even layer. One moment. Boom. Okay. Now we'll let this set up and we'll do the next layer in just a second. So don't quote me too much on whether or not Carnival still holds up. It came out in the early 2000s, like 2003, 2004, that time frame. So it probably is a little cringy nowadays, but I remember enjoying it even though it was kind of weird. It was a show that House Scripted, my spouse, suggested that I check out. And I thought it was weird, but good. I don't know, how many of you even saw that show?
Not enough that it ended up canceled.
It did get canceled, yeah. It was a little weird though. Like, you gotta be honest. It was kind of a weird show.
Excellent.
it's very much up House Cryptid's alley, that is for sure. So I'm not surprised that he suggested it. It only had 2 seasons. I might have to try and rewatch it, but it really stuck with me. The Fireball show, because the head of the carnival, they're like really low on money. And so in order to get enough money, they like actively ruin their relationship with this one town in order to, steal from them and have enough money to go ahead and keep going. So that is where the name of the soap comes from. Little jiggle jiggle. Jiggle 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 jiggle. But as much as the theme is circus, I didn't want to go too obviously circus. Like, obviously, there's a lot of less than ideal associations with the circus. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in one of the other videos with one of the other designs. But I thought sort of a jester clown would work. Like, one of my original sort of proto ideas for this collection was a red and white stripe instead, but it was just so generic that I almost couldn't bring myself to do it, Like, it's fine as a detail, but I didn't want the whole soap to be just the most generic thing you can think of for circus. I hope this works, because like, I grew up going to Circus in Vegas with my family, and that is a lot of very old-timey circus vibes there. I don't know if it still is. It's been a long time since I've been. Is Circus even still open?
I don't know.
Go by Robert Evans? Yeah.
I can trust Robert Evans with this. I haven't been to Vegas in a very long time. All right, final layer here. We will be all done with the pouring. God, this little container is just so stinking cute.
It is super adorable.
Oh, I love it so much. Luckily, this sets up super fast. I should be able to do a little bit of texturing on the top like I wanted to do. Look at that. Lovely. I think I'm not going to bother trying to get the last of the soap out of the container and into the mold because that is just too perfect to screw up. A little extra mold here. This will get turned into a sample bar. A very skinny one, but one nonetheless. But I did mention earlier The Amazing Digital Circus, which the kiddo and I went and saw the last episode in theaters, which was really fun. I am realizing I don't know how much circus media I've taken in over the years. I think a lot of it is just like weird stuff from the 90s and the early 2000s. Like, what was the name of that? It was We're Back. You remember that one? That had like an evil circus in it.
Professor Screw-Eye's Eccentric Circus!
That was a whole thing. That's a weird... You haven't seen that movie?
I have not seen any circus content.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, but like the evil guy, the villain, has this like creepy, weird circus that he runs. That's the whole thing with the villain. Let me see if this is... Oh, yeah. Let's get a little bit of texture on the top here. But yeah, I've seen that. I tried to read that like Cirque du Freak books, but I never really got into those when I was a kid. There's Carnival. Gosh, what else? I feel like I have, in fact, watched other circus stuff.
Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Is that a book? Is that a movie?
Movie.
I didn't watch that one.
Alright. Classic for evil carnival.
There's a lot of circus and carnival stuff in the early books of Anita Blake, which I did read a lot of those.
That's the closest I've come to circus content.
Anita Blake?
Yeah, and I don't think that was circus. That was...
Oh, there was a circus in Anita Blake.
The vampire runs a circus.
He runs a
Wow.
strip club.
He also has... There's a circus because she meets Richard there, the werewolf.
Maybe I missed that book.
Yeah, there's a whole book about the circus. I think Jean-Claude owns that too, though. Because he owns a bunch of stuff because he's a vampire and that's what they do. They own stuff.
Yeah, I only remember the strip club.
Look, I mean, the Anita Blake series goes south quick, so I don't blame you. I don't recommend it, frankly. I got a few books in, probably more books in than I should have. More than a few books, Raven. Way more than a few books. You should have stopped. But I've always kind of liked the circus stuff. But it's also creepy and weird, and I grew up in a time period where animals were still part of the circus, and that's the whole thing. So with that, we are halfway through the video. And of course, it is time for your sacrifice to the algorithm gods in our name. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you do so down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. Comment about your circus story. I feel like a lot of older folks have a circus story, but I don't know how many of the younger crowd do. Like my kids have never been to the circus. I don't know. You don't have a circus story?
I don't have a circus
You're from
story.
Utah.
I lived in Washington for 5 years. I was born in Maine.
Does the circus even go to Utah?
Yes, it does. You just never went.
So your reward, as usual, is a close-up at the top of the soap. Let's go.
My kid's been to a circus, though.
I feel like the circus that your child has gone to is a very different circus than what I grew up with. All right, so that yellow glitter on the top is pretty light, which was kind of the point. So we'll see if this discolors over time. I think it's going to. If I can, I'll throw up an image here of a couple days later and let you know how it looks. But yeah, we're looking pretty good. So we're going to let this set up overnight and we'll be back tomorrow. Cut it down into bars.
I was going to say, I just realized something.
What?
The only circus media I have ever taken in, Dumbo.
Well, save that for the next one. All right, bye.
Bye.
Welcome back, friends. It is time to take a look at the Fireball Show soap. So I would say not the best lines I've ever done in my life. A little rough, but not too bad overall. I'd say the top still looks pretty good, but our sides look a little wobbly. But that's kind of to be expected given how this was. But I wanted to show you the test batch and the final batch. So this was at full usage rate. This might still discolor a little bit closer to this as it goes on, but so far we're still looking pretty good.
I still actually really like the discolored one, though.
Yeah, I think the discoloration is pretty. So if it does discolor, it's not a big deal. It's just sort of an antique-y look at that point.
Vintage
Vint-
Fireball Show.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get this ready. All right, all set?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Vanya White. Jesus. All right. Well, now that Vanya has at least finished the job, let's go ahead and take a look at the final bars. They are going to look pretty similar from bar to bar. That's all right.
Mm-hmm.
That is the nature of stripes. Ooh, cute.
It is cute.
We do have some bumps, but, you know, could be worse.
With some drag marks.
Definitely could be worse. I'll take it. Here's another one. There we go. You know, at least the colors are very clean. The layers are not great. I've done significantly better work as the channel's resident layer queen. Not great. I do like how the glitter looks in between the layers, though. Nice touch. Well, here is the final soap versus the digital mock-up. I think I got it. Not that there was ever really any doubt. It's a pretty straightforward and simple one. But yeah, there we go. I think it worked out for sure. Editing Raven jumping in here again. I literally just realized as I'm editing this that the mock-up had 5 stripes and the final soap has 4. I don't know what happened. Lost in translation, I guess. So that is going to be it for today's soap. Success. I'd say it's a good start to the collection. We've been having a lot of good collections this year, I think. We've really been working on bringing the themes in and making sure the designs are cohesive. I think it's been great. I hope that's been coming over well for all of you. But we do have 3 more designs in this collection to go, and then we'll be releasing it at the end of the month. So it is that time for your hydration reminder.
Your poison. Your poison. It's time for poison.
Go get your water. It's still hot out. By the time this comes out, it's probably actually going to be even hotter than when we're filming it, because we're filming in July. You know we like to do our filming in advance, so fun. But go get your water. Tea is fine. I guess I'll take soda. Just I need whatever you're drinking. I need the first ingredient to be water. Okay. Okay.
I could have had a Red Bull this whole time.
Like my rules stop you, frankly. Please. Anyway, we're going to take a 5-second sip. So let's go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Excellent. You have hydrated. Good job. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call it for today. And we will catch you for the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
And rounding it out with the test bat. Oh, she's ugly. Oh. Oh no.